Hi everyone. Book Summary The Formula by Albert-László Barabási. Let's enjoy the video. Please subscribing to my channel for more great content like this. You'll be notified when I upload new videos. The Formula, the Universal Laws of Success is a compelling exploration of the science of success. Barabási, a renowned network scientist, presents 5 laws that govern success. 1. Performance drives success, but when performance can't be measured, networks drive success. 2. Performance is bounded, but success is unbounded. 3. Previous success * fitness equals future success. 4. While team success requires diversity and balance, a single individual will receive credit for the group's achievements. 5. With persistence, success can come at any time. Some examples that illustrate the principles of the book. 1. The Red Baron, an ace fighter pilot whose success can be attributed to performance and network. 2. Jean-Michel Basquiat, a graffiti artist who achieved success through his unique style and connections in the art world. 3. Miles Davis, his recording of Kind of Blue became a success due to his previous accomplishments and the fitness of his music for the jazz genre. 4. Marcel Duchamp, an artist who received credit for the Dada movement, demonstrating the law of a single individual receiving credit for a group's achievements. 5. Tiger Woods, a golfer whose success came at different times in his career, showing that with persistence, success can come at any time. Although the principles found in self-help books can always be considered as wisdom, I find that quite a few of self-help books tend to bloat themselves with stories. The Formula, the Universal Laws of Success is still one of them, but it does a great job of making the stories relevant and interesting. It all boils down to the 5 laws of success as Albert-László Barabási concludes from all the research he and his team had done. First law, performance drives success, but when performance can't be measured, networks drive success. Second law, performance is bounded, but success is unbounded. Third law, previous success * fitness equals future success. Fourth law, while team success requires diversity and balance, a single individual will receive credit for the group's achievements. Fifth law, with persistence success can come at any time. Some are pretty straightforward, but I'll still go through each one explaining them my best and sharing my personal experiences about them. I also encourage everyone to read the book itself because the stories in there will provide a nuanced understanding of these laws, in addition to being interesting. First law, performance drives success, but when performance can't be measured, networks drive success. This one is the most easy to understand one out of the 5. Essentially, there will always be a criteria to measure success. If this criteria is quantitative, then of course we can look at the numbers and say, hey look, this guy got the most points, so he is the winner. If this criteria is hard to define, then it all comes down to the network a candidate has, which put more simply, is whether one knows people and has connections all around to recognize one's work and boost it. Barabási's son, Daniel, faced a dilemma when applying to colleges. He got accepted to the University of Notre Dame and Northeastern University simultaneously. In terms of ranking, Notre Dame University was almost as good as Ivy League schools. Data showed that the average annual salary of Ivy League graduates was twice as much as graduates of other schools. On the other hand, Northeastern University, ranked 50 places behind Notre Dame, offered Daniel a tuition waiver. Which university should Daniel choose? To prepare Daniel for future success, Notre Dame seemed like a better option. In reality, though, the choice would have no absolute bearing on Daniel's future earnings. Not even going to Stanford or Harvard would make a difference. Rather, performance, ambition, and coordination skills would determine Daniel's odds of success. Naturally, we assume that prestigious schools mean better teachers and peers that would eventually produce smarter graduates, but studies have shown otherwise. Economists examined the students of Boston Latin, an elite high school in the United States. They found that the students on either side of the admissions line were indistinguishable when it came to their initial academic performance and intellectual promise. Although some were lucky enough to get into Boston Latin while others went to lower-ranked schools, these students performed equally well when tested at graduation. In other words, Boston Latin did not enhance the performance of its students. High achievers continue to excel no matter which school they attend. Prestigious schools do not make their students smarter. Instead, it is the students that make these institutions into the elite schools they are. The same goes for universities, which explains why students who rejected offers from Ivy League schools are earning as much as their Ivy League peers after graduation. In short, performance drives success, but that is only true when performance is quantifiable. Metrics like SAT scores may tell us how one does academically, but it is extremely difficult to accurately measure performances in many other fields. Take soccer as an example. We can tell how many goals and assists a player makes, but we cannot scientifically distinguish his individual performance from the rest of his team. Defenders, for example, execute hundreds of tackles, successfully foiled passes, assists, and aerial duels during game time, but they hardly leave any mark in the memories of judges. In fact, different judges can have hugely diverging opinions regarding a player's performance. That being said, what drives success when performance cannot be measured? The answer is networks. The Mona Lisa, the best-known single artwork in history, was just one of many valuable paintings at the Louvre until it was stolen in broad daylight in 1911. The case became a worldwide detective mystery, spiced up with stranger-than-fiction anecdotes. Even Picasso was wrongfully arrested as an accomplice in the crime. In less than 2 years, the painting became the priceless treasure it is today. Open up any art history book, you'll find pages justifying the painting's reign over the art world, the subject's enigmatic smile, Da Vinci's unique techniques, and the painting's energetic composition. But these values have always been there since the completion of the artwork. Why, then, did it become so much more valuable after the theft? The answer is networks. The drama that surrounded the Mona Lisa's 2-year disappearance is what made the painting valuable. It is still the same painting, but its context has now changed. If you don't know much about arts, you may wonder how some paintings hanging on museum walls, looking like random smears of paints, can be worth millions of dollars, whereas yours, created with similar brush strokes, will likely sell for a mere $30. The truth is, since it is impossible to measure the value of arts with metrics, the context is all that matters. Marcel Duchamp's fountain is a classic example. It was nothing more than an ordinary urinal when found in a plumbing supply store, but it became a valuable piece of art when displayed in Duchamp's art studio. Of course, fountain owes its high price to Duchamp. The value of an artwork can vary tremendously when attributed to different artists. Why are the works created by masters more valuable? This is where the dirty but open secret of the art world comes in. Once you have succeeded, it's in everyone's interest to keep your success going. There is a symbiotic relationship between collectors, artists, and institutions. Artists gain prestige by having their work exhibited at esteemed galleries, whereas galleries succeed by attracting well-regarded artists. Meanwhile, galleries subsist on collectors that pay for their collections. In turn, collectors connect with artists through their personal collections, and they influence fellow collectors. If a collector pays a hefty price for a piece of art, the gallery is obliged to boost or at least maintain the value of the work in question to protect everyone's interest. To do this, galleries would bid against each other at auctions so that the final price captures their expectation. If no one is interested in buying, dropping the price is the last thing they will do. Instead, they will push the price even higher to give the public a false impression of the artwork's value. In other words, the price of a masterpiece is driven by networks. Therefore, to stay ahead of the game of success, networking is just as important as ramping up your performance. Connecting with those that are good at building networks serves as a testimony to your value. Once you stumble across success, the rest of your journey will be much lighter and easier. Above is Barabási's first law of success. Performance drives success, but when performance can't be measured, networks drive success. Second law, performance is bounded, but success is unbounded. Performance is bounded means that there is a top limit to what human beings can do, even for top performers. I remember I read somewhere that for 100 m sprinting it is estimated that human beings can only improve their time to maximum around 8 feet 30 inches, due to limitations in physics and physiology. The best example to illustrate the second half of the law is Tiger Woods, as seen often mentioned in the book. Throughout his career, he had been the best player when he was at his peak, but there were also times that he was just only one of the best among the other players. However, unless one is familiar with the golfing scene, if we just randomly grab somebody on the street and ask who is the most famous golf player, everybody would probably instinctively answer Tiger Woods. That is unbounded success in play right there. In the book it also talked about how the performance of Tiger Woods could eclipse the other top players, causing them to play worse if he is performing well and better if he is in a dump, but I think this is one of the tangents the book went on to. Usain Bolt is the fastest man on earth. If you were to enter a contest with Bolt, you would almost certainly fall pathetically behind. However, the difference between your speed and Usain's is actually not that big. He may run twice as fast as you do, but he cannot be 10 times faster. There's an upper limit to how fast a human can run. Therefore, even Bolt's speed is bounded. The same applies to other fields. Put simply, performance is bounded. Our performance follows something like a bell curve, a graph with a large rounded peak tapering away at each end. It is often used to describe height or IQ. For example, most people are of average height. On a bell curve, they would be located near the peak. Only a few are in the very short or the very tall range at the taping ends. The same goes for speed. Excellent runners like Bolt are near the upper bound, but they, too, cannot outrun a car. They sprint along the bell's upper taper but never beyond that. Since performance is bounded, you will realize that after putting in years of hard work to become an exceptional surgeon, a brilliant engineer or a deft pianist, there are still plenty of people in your field who are just as talented, experienced, and well-trained as you. To stand out, you only have to perform slightly better than your competitors. If you observe closely, you will notice that the superstars in each field are only slightly better than their peers in the same performance range, but their reward can be hundreds or thousands of times greater. Golf superstar, Tiger Woods occupies the upper bound of a bell curve in all 4 criteria that measure golf players' performance. However, he is actually not that much better than his competitors in the same range. If he wins, he does so by a fraction of a swing. His performance is bounded, but his success is limitless. In 2009, Woods became the first athlete to net more than $1 billion throughout his career, and the second richest African American, trailing only Oprah Winfrey. Even in 2015, when he no longer frequented golf events, he was still the 9th highest paid athlete on the Forbes list. A large part of his wealth comes from product endorsements for golf equipment, cars, and sports drinks. He is disproportionately more successful than any other professional golfer, but why? Just like how a bell curve animates the bounded nature of performance, the unbounded nature of success is shown through a power law. Power law distributions have slowly decaying tails, meaning that they allow for extremes. If height followed a power law distribution, we would find the world inhabited by fairies that are no more than a few inches tall and giants that are hundreds or thousands of feet in height. The existence of power laws justifies why the combined wealth of the top 8 richest people in the world is more than the combined wealth of the world's bottom 50%. Third law, previous success * fitness equals future success. If you have ever noticed that sometimes a queue starts in front of a stall out of nowhere, then this is exactly what previous success is about. The actual name of this phenomenon is preferential attachment, which is actually a mechanism that we humans use to make a judgment quickly. We are constantly receiving information, but our brains can only work up to a certain limit, so to save ourselves the trouble of investigating everything, and thus overworking our brains when making a decision, we rely on crowd wisdom, information provided by our fellow human beings. If we look back to our queue example mentioned earlier, the reason why a certain stall has a queue in front of it might simply be that people are just wondering why people are lining up in front of it. Be it a good phenomenon or a bad one, this is how it works in reality. We could harness this power quite easily by kicking off our endeavors. For shop owners, offering something for free in exchange of a few first positive reviews might just be worth it. Another way to approach this is to find someone who has already obtained a certain degree of success to collaborate with. Since her fan base has already known that she can offer great products to their liking, therefore the fan base, this collaboration will also be blessed with their seal of approval and take off quicker. Then let's talk about fitness. Fitness, put simply, is just how good a person or a product is. I think a strikingly good example is running a business. To run a business long-term, you would need to attract the customers, previous success, and keep them coming by offering good value, fitness. Fourth law, while team success requires diversity and balance, a single individual will receive credit for the group's achievements. This law is fairly straightforward. It is literally what it means. This law explains why even though NBA is the best basketball league in the world, the USA Olympics basketball team may not be the best. Too many stars on a team just makes the team fail because they clash with each other. What we could draw more from this law is how credit is assigned. If we already know that all the credit would go to one person in a group setting, and if we would like to receive that credit, we should move into position so that this credit will more likely be assigned to us. I would summarize the method mentioned in the book as finding a niche. It is okay to find a famed group of people and achieve something together to latch onto this fame, but as long as one keeps on doing this, one will certainly be overshadowed by this group. There is a deviation, or a niche that one must find and keep on working on to make oneself known for this and earn credit in the future for group settings. Fifth law, with persistence success can come at any time. Have grit. We must believe that success will eventually come to us and focus on what we are doing. There is a certain condition that must be mentioned here, which is a term called Q factor that the author coined. I am unsure because it might be a particular existing term for this, but I had not seen it mentioned elsewhere. To simply put it, the Q factor can be viewed as aptitude. The author believes that we all have certain strengths and weaknesses, the former being the one that offers a larger Q factor. If we match a large Q factor with a small achievement, then it will still be a substantial success. On the other hand, if the Q factor is small, then no matter how great the achievement is, the resultant success will also not come out great. While I do agree with the author that we do have our natural strengths and weaknesses, I don't think they are that immutable. With enough time I think everyone can change anything. However, I do agree that we should work towards our strengths a bit more, because that is really the easier way out. By constantly working in a field with large Q factor, one can massively increase 1-foot odds of success. It's simple statistics. Einstein, who came up with the theory of relativity at the age of 26, once said, "A person who has not made his great contribution to science before the age of 30 will never do so." Most of us think that innovation is the game of young people. There is even scientific proof for that. Psychologist Dean Keith Simonton analyzed the lives of more than 2,000 scientists and inventors including Da Vinci, Newton and Edison. He noticed that most of them had gained success before the age of 39. A similar pattern was found among artists and writers. However, Barabási's research shows that creativity doesn't age. Instead, we can succeed at any moment. When examining the relationship between scientific contributions and the timing of success, Barabási's team chose not to label research papers based on the ages of their respective authors. Instead, they numbered the papers according to their sequences of publication throughout the authors' careers. The team found that each paper, whether it was the first or the last of these authors, was equally crucial in the process of making a scientific breakthrough, and had the exact same chance of becoming impactful. In other words, creativity has nothing to do with age, and it doesn't decline as we grow older. How, then, do we explain the phenomenon of early success? The answer lies in productivity. Let's use a simple analogy. If you buy a lottery ticket each year, your chance of winning a prize neither improves nor declines as you age. But if you buy 30 lottery tickets when you turn 30, you will have a bigger chance of winning a prize that year. The same goes for scientific papers. Each paper has exactly the same odds of becoming a breakthrough. That is why researchers tend to experience their greatest success in the period when they are most prolific. They succeed because they try more often, not because they are more creative in that particular period of time. Most scientists are most productive during the first 2 decades of their professional life. As motivation wanes and priorities shift in the subsequent years, they tend to buy fewer lottery tickets, so they inevitably have fewer wins. Barabási argues that success can happen anytime as long as we hold on to a brilliant idea. John Fenn became a professor at Yale at the age of 50. He remained a low-impact scientist for the next 2 decades until he was forced to take mandatory retirement at the age of 70. Yet Fenn didn't just stop there. He relocated to Virginia Commonwealth University where he continued his research on electrospray ionization, a new technique that measures the masses of large molecules and proteins. He then developed a robust way to measure ribosomes and viruses, transforming our understanding of how cells work. In 2002, by then a wizened man in his 80s, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry.
The end. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and share. See you in next video.